Biolab in South Carolina let 43 monkeys escape, and it just so happens those monkeys were being used for virus and bioweapon research. A biotech company just recently resurrected the dire wolf, and back in the 60s, a winged creature with glowing red eyes haunted a town for a year, then vanished just as soon as it appeared. These are times scientists created creatures they couldn't control. In November of 2024, chaos broke out at the Alpha Genesis research facility in Yamasee, South Carolina, when 43 rhesus macaque monkeys escaped after a caretaker reportedly left a door unlocked. The monkeys ran off into nearby wooded areas. 35 were rounded up pretty quickly, but 8 of them were on the loose for weeks. These macaques are very intelligent animals, and this was concerning because they can carry diseases transmissible to humans. So folks were pretty concerned as days turned into weeks. But what exactly were these monkeys being used for? Well, the facility does research involving viruses, bioweapons. So yeah, this was starting to sound like the beginning of Planet of the Apes. Meanwhile, animal rights groups were all over this, calling out the lab for being sloppy and putting the public at risk. And of course, they were already pissed about monkeys being tested on in the first place. In the end, all the monkeys were safely recaptured, but this was definitely not a good look. In early 2025, Colossal Biosciences made headlines after announcing that they had successfully brought back the direwolf, or something like it. Using advanced gene editing, they took gray wolf DNA and basically tweaked it until it resembled the long extinct direwolf. Bigger build, stronger jaws, different fur. Not exactly a clone, but close enough that it was a pretty big deal. The company called it de-extinction. Some scientists called it more of a Frankenstein DNA project, but either way, the animals are real. They're alive, and they're not planning to keep them in a lab forever. Colossal said the goal is to reintroduce these wolves into the wild at some point to restore balance to certain ecosystems, but that raised a ton of red flags. First off, no one really knows how they're going to behave in the real world. What happens if it mates with modern wolves, throws off the predator-prey balance? There's also the question of what happens if these things turn aggressive. Colossal insists that they got it under control, but when you're resurrecting an ancient predator in a lab, some people feel pretty iffy about it. Not me though, I think this is awesome. Between 1966 and 1967, people in Point Pleasant, West Virginia kept reporting something strange, a tall creature with glowing red eyes. It was humanoid, but it also had giant wings. They called it the Mothman. Some said it chased their cars, others claimed it flew over buildings or hovered near the old TNT plant outside of town. Dozens of reports came in over the course of about a year. Then in December 1967, the Silver Bridge suddenly collapsed during rush hour, killing 46 people. And this is when the Mothman legend really exploded, because some claimed that they'd seen the creature perched on the bridge just before the disaster. One of the biggest rumors surrounding the mysterious Mothman creature is that it was the result of a messed up government experiment. But whether it was a misidentified bird or something else entirely, nobody ever got a solid explanation. In April of 1973, a man named Henry McDaniel from Enfield, Illinois, called the police in a panic, saying that some bizarre creature had tried to break into his house. He said it had 3 legs, short arms, and glowing red eyes. He fired at it, but said it just jumped away unfazed. A few days later, some local kids said that they saw something similar near an abandoned house, and pretty soon word spread and people from outside the town started showing up, hoping to spot it. Some thought it might have been an escaped kangaroo. Others leaned into the weirder theories, like it being a government experiment that got loose, or something not of this world at all. Interestingly, the area was near a military base, so that definitely helped with the government experiment angle. Government tried to downplay the whole thing, of course, but people who saw it stuck to their stories. Even the cops admitted that McDaniel didn't seem like someone making things up. To this day, nobody really knows what happened that spring. In the summer of 1988, a teenager in Lee County, South Carolina, claimed that this huge creature attacked his car near Scape or swamp. He said it was about 7 feet tall, covered in green, scaly skin, and had glowing red eyes. His car was damaged, there were these deep scratches all over it, and his side mirror was busted. Not to mention that the kid was clearly shaken up. Police wondered if he was just making up the story to cover up an accident, but this was a pretty lame excuse to come up with. I mean, a lizard monster attacking your car? They didn't pay it much attention, but after that, more people started coming forward with similar stories. One woman said something ripped the chrome off her car. Another man claimed he saw the thing staring at him from the edge of the swamp. Locals started calling this creature the Lizard Man. Police started looking into it now as more reports just kept rolling in. One of the sillier explanations at the time was that people were actually seeing a bear, which is a pretty lazy explanation. Again, there's an escaped lab experiment theory for this one as well. As fast as it started though, the sightings stopped. It's since become a local legend. As for what people were really seeing though, who knows? I can safely say it probably wasn't a bear though. In 2021, a biotech company called Oxitec released genetically modified mosquitoes in the Florida Keys. The goal was to reduce the population of Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which spread diseases like dengue and Zika. These lab-engineered male mosquitoes were designed to mate with wild females, passing on a gene that would prevent their offspring from surviving to adulthood. The idea was that over time the mosquito population would decline, but the plan didn't go exactly as planned. Some scientists were worried that the gene might not be as lethal as expected and that some offspring would survive and potentially create a hybrid population. And how would the reduction of one mosquito species affect predators or allow potentially more dangerous mosquito species to overpopulate? Even with these concerns though, the project moved forward and millions of genetically modified mosquitoes were released. It's only been a few years, so the long-term effects remain to be seen. In August of 1955, a woman named Naomi Johnson went swimming in the Ohio River near Evansville, Indiana, and came out with a story that's still being talked about today. She said something grabbed her from below, yanked her underwater, and tried to drag her down. She fought her way free and made it back to the surface, but her leg was covered in scratches and stained with this green slimy residue that wouldn't wash off for days. That alone would have made it a weird local mystery, but then it's just got stranger. Naomi later claimed a man in a military uniform came to her house, said he was with the US Air Force, and told her not to talk about what happened. No official report was filed and nobody could explain what she'd seen. Some people connect this to UFO sightings in the area around that time, saying it could have been part of a larger cover-up event. Others think that this was just a case of someone getting tangled up with a big fish or a log or seaweed. Still though, it doesn't really explain the military visit part. Very weird story. From the late 1990s up until 2013, people in the Swiss village of Mal kept reporting a strange figure walking through the woods. They called it Le Loyon, or the Ghost of Mal. Witnesses described it as a tall person in a military-style cloak wearing a creepy old-school gas mask. They'd be completely silent, never speaking, just walking the same path over and over. No one knew who or what this was. Then in 2013, someone finally snapped a photo. A few weeks later, the sightings stopped. All that was found was a pile of the costume left in the woods, along with a note that basically said the person behind it was sick of being harassed and misunderstood. Some say it was just a harmless eccentric who didn't want to be bothered. Others think it was performance art or some type of social experiment, but there's another theory that something was going on in those woods. I mean, why walk around in a gas mask unless there's a very good reason? Was there some sort of experiment going on? It's really strange, because if it was just a hoax, I mean, just, some weirdo dressing up to scare people, you'd think they would have called it quits way sooner, but this lasted over a decade. There are some real accidents connected to the Pope-like monster, but just what in the hell is the Pope-like monster? It's a creature said to haunt a train trestle bridge in Louisville, Kentucky. People who've claimed to see it describe some kind of goat-man hybrid, has hooves, fur, horns, and the face of a man. The story goes that it lures people onto the tracks using hypnosis or by mimicking people, and then they get hit by an oncoming train. It sounds pretty out there, but people have actually died on that bridge. The train line is active, and because of the legend, people started going there to try and spot the beast for themselves. In 2016, a young woman was killed while investigating the site with her boyfriend. Another person died years earlier under similar circumstances, and some say the creature is just a spooky story to scare kids away from a dangerous area, but the origin of the legend is still murky. It goes back decades with no clear first report. So was it made up entirely? Or did someone really see something weird out there in the woods once and the story just grew from there? Whatever the truth is, the combination of actual deaths and the eerie setting has helped keep the Pope-like monster legend alive. alive. We've veered pretty far into the cryptozoology, urban legend realm, so let's talk about something a little more science-based and down to earth: synthetic biology in general. This is basically when scientists build or redesign living things from the ground up. Might tweak bacteria to make medicine or design microbes that eat plastic. It sounds helpful, and sometimes it is, but the problem is once you mess with life at that level, you can't always predict what's going to happen. There have been real concerns that some of these lab-made organisms could escape into the environment and do things they weren't intended to do, like spreading out of control, mutating, and wiping out other species. One example people talk about is modified yeast strains used to make biofuels, so tweaking the yeast genes so that it produces stuff like ethanol or other chemicals that can be used for fuel. Pretty cool. Even scientists working in this field admit that we're still figuring out the risks. Most of the time, things go as planned, but if just one of these creations gets out and starts doing something unexpected, things can spiral fast. I've been your host, James. I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.